Greetings! New Dolby Atmos Renderer and Album Assembler updates. Some very welcome additions, couple of weird things, and a very important tidbit that might change the way we look at the placement of objects. Let's take a look. I'm Pat from the Living Room Studios, and I will start with the workflow improvements for me. First, and something we have all been waiting for a long time, is the inclusion of an actual timeline. Literally. Look, it's a line. You can now easily navigate to the part of the Atmos master you want to listen to. So simple, yet so evasive for quite a long time. The way starting and stopping playback via the spacebar behaves is now a preference. In Preferences, you can now choose that behavior. Returns to last start position and remains at current position. But don't get confused. The prefs for starting and stopping playback with the spacebar are only for the spacebar. I was pushing stop on the transport to try it out, and changing the prefs would not do anything. So don't be a doofus like this guy. The new preference to prevent the display from going to sleep is also a cool little thing. As for the different flavor of a 2.0 re-render called 2.0 Direct, to be honest, I do not understand its purpose. Can you hear anything? Here, I'll A-B.
Hey, hey, what do you say? But down another day. Who cares? Whatever you do, if it's a small thing to get to you.
Now, a source of uncertainty and slight aggravation, to be honest, was always this discrepancy in loudness measuring of true peak among the Dolby tools, especially for loudness sensitive materials. This has now been fixed. In particular, loudness measurement is now aligned with the album assembler, which is also great. But let's look into this loudness issue a bit more. I'm taking this from one of Dolby's documents. In late 2023, Dolby made updates to the rendering process in Dolby Atmos content creation tools for both monitoring and loudness measurement. In addition to removing clustering from the content creation and loudness processes, they also made improvements to the rendering of size metadata. But that created some issues. In some cases, com-filtering on objects with size was reported. This was mainly for dry vocals, panned in the center, but I don't use the center channel for dry lead vocals, so I personally never encountered this. Also, the all-pass filter deployed in the new rendering process created greater than anticipated true peak loudness differences when compared to previous tool versions. Well, that was an issue for me, especially for releases that border the spec. You were never sure which tool gave the true measurement, the renderer or the assembler. Let's look at some more implications. Ready to get your mind blown? Due to the size metadata issue, DD plus JOC codec encoders were not updated with the changes for size metadata or loudness measurement. The Dolby Encoding Engine version 5.5 and Dolby Media Encoder version 3.5.1 are affected by the size issue for AC4 IMS only. Follow me closely here. AC4 IMS is only used for mobile, for rendering to headphones and to mobile device speakers. So this only affects Tidal and Amazon on Android, since Apple uses the DD plus JOC codec and its spatial audio binaural rendering for headphone playback on its devices. Dolby is now updating all DD plus JOC and AC4 IMS encoders to match the size implementation and loudness measurement in the content creation tools. let's quickly verify that the loudness measurements are indeed the same in the renderer and assembler. I'll spare you the process and just show you these two screenshots, where indeed we see that the loudness measurements are the same. Yes! Thank you, Dolby. Excited about all the updates, but what's a bit scary is that a few of these are actually not upgrades at all, but downgrades in essence, since the software is returning back to the way it did things in previous versions. For example, loudness measurements per Dolby are returning to levels much closer to Dolby Atmos Renderer version 5.1. And size metadata rendering is reverting to size metadata rendering similar to previous tool versions from early 2023, namely version 5.2. Which makes you wonder, aren't updates supposed to be fixing things? The version I just installed, will it do what it's supposed to do correctly, as expected at least? Or will I find out in the next update that something was really not working properly in this previous one? Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood, as Eric Burden sings in the legendary Animal song. This is all constructive criticism with tons of love for Dolby and the wonderful people there. I do understand the time and hard work that goes into all this, and also understand that Dolby is a relatively small company. It is not Apple or Microsoft by any stretch of the imagination. But when your known issues part of the documentation keeps getting longer and longer, maybe some more beta testing by more engineers is needed? Something else? I don't know, just a thought. Love you, Dolby. One comment on this. It appears that these fixes are coming up. They have not been implemented yet. From the horse's mouth, Dolby is now updating all DD Plus Jock and AC4 IMS encoders to match the size implementation and loudness measurement in content creation tools. What this means is that the size metadata in your mix might or probably will cause issues in certain instances, like comb filtering in a center-placed dry lead vocal. But that would be the result of the encoders and not your ADM BWF. That comb filtering will be audible until one beautiful shiny day it won't anymore, because Dolby would have completed updating those encoders. But when and how would we know? So, my suggestion, and what I'll do personally until we are certain that all updates have gone through and are being implemented at the DSP level, is keep off the size parameter for a little while longer to avoid all this mess. I cannot wait to start experimenting with size more. I believe it has the potential to open new avenues of creative, immersive audio. Now on to the album assembler. Besides the loudness measurement stuff I talked about earlier, and a couple of UI changes, like moving the stereo reference controls, this new version introduces 3 different edit modes: shuffle, snap, and slip. The shuffle mode, which is used to reorder your songs and preserve any spaces between clips on either the Dolby Atmos or stereo reference track. The snap mode, which is the legacy behavior of Album Assembler version 1.3 and previous, and available on both the Dolby Atmos and stereo reference tracks. And the slip mode, which is used to move clips freely on the timeline, like in snap mode. In slip mode, clips can be dropped on top of other clips, which will trim the overlapped clip. But this mode is only supported on the Dolby Atmos track. Oh, and you can now close a project without having to quit the application. What I was really hoping for, though, is different fade-in, fade-out types. Being able to at least manipulate the curves would save me a lot of time. And, you know, what about crossfades? Crossfades. Oh, something got stuck in my throat. So sorry there. If your workflow involves the Dolby Atmos Renderer and Assembler, these new updates will definitely make you happier. But before you update, remember to always make a backup first. And when you take a break, here's an Atmos playlist with a few more videos for your viewing pleasure. Till next time.